Welcome to Gooseberry Science and Education videos. My name is Noah. Joining me today is our little orange gooseberry character. He's going to be my trusty assistant as we unpack what is, honestly, one of the most absolutely crucial yet entirely hidden systems keeping our modern world running. Today, we are diving into the secret life of wastewater. So it's a simple question, right? What actually happens after you flush? I mean, most of us just push a handle or turn off a tap and boom, the water vanishes. Out of sight, out of mind. But there's really no magic disappearing act here. That water embarks on an incredible journey through massive industrial marvels that not only keep our society clean and disease-free, but as we're going to see in this explainer, they are actively transforming what we usually call waste into some seriously valuable resources. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. First, the wastewater journey begins. Second, primary and secondary treatment. Third, biological nutrient removal. Fourth, sludge and biogas recovery. And finally, advanced tech and reuse. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The wastewater journey begins. Where does it all start? Well, before we can treat anything, we need to understand exactly what is going down our drains. And as it turns out, not all wastewater is created equal. We have highly contaminated black water from toilets, and then this medium contaminated gray water from sinks and showers. But take a look at yellow water, urine. Traditionally, we've just viewed this as waste, right? But it is actually so concentrated with nitrogen and phosphorus that it's a highly valuable resource if we recover it properly, rather than just treating it like a pollutant that has to be destroyed. Now, once that water leaves your house, it has to be treated. And we generally have two ways to tackle this: centralized versus decentralized. Centralized treatment, that's the old standard. We're talking massive plants serving entire cities. The downside? Well, they require incredibly extensive, super energy-intensive networks of pipes and pumps to move all that water miles and miles across a city. Decentralized treatment, on the other hand, places perfectly right-sized plants right near the communities they serve. Shorter distances mean way less pumping energy, a much lower carbon footprint, and honestly, a much more flexible, scalable system that can quickly adapt to a growing local population. All right, moving on to Section 2, primary and secondary treatment. So once the water actually arrives at the plant and goes through physical screens to remove all the big stuff, the rags, the plastics, the grit, we enter the real heart of the facility. And here is where it gets cool. Because we don't just use chemicals to clean the water, we actually use nature. The secret here is activated sludge. This is a biological process using aeration and a flock of very hungry bacteria and protozoa to oxidize organic pollutants. And this combination, by the way, is known in the industry as mixed liquor. Meet our microscopic worker. Inside these massive aeration tanks, oxygen is bubbled up from the bottom. And this oxygen allows aerobic microorganisms, kind of like our green drop friend here, to just go to work on a literal microbial buffet. They feast on the carbonaceous biological matter in the sewage, basically digesting the organic waste and clumping together so they can easily settle out of the clean water later on. Just how effective are these little workers? Well, by using surface aerated basins, these microorganisms can achieve a staggering 80 to 90% reduction in biochemical oxygen demand. We call that BOD for short, and it's basically the organic waste that would otherwise suffocate natural rivers. And they do this in just 1 to 10 days. No way, right? They are doing the absolute heaviest lifting of the entire treatment process, taking the highly polluted black water and gray water and essentially eating the pollution right out of it. Which brings us to Section 3, biological nutrient removal. Because, as it turns out, just removing carbon isn't enough. We have to protect the rivers. So why does this specific step matter? Well, remember that yellow water we talked about earlier? It's absolutely packed with nitrogen and phosphorus. If those excess nutrients are discharged into natural water bodies, they act like a mega fertilizer. And that causes something called eutrophication. This is a toxic, explosive overgrowth of algae and aquatic plants that blocks out sunlight, completely depletes the oxygen in the water, and just devastates the local ecosystem, causing massive fish kills. To stop this from happening, plants use a really clever process called denitrification. Here, we switch things up a bit. Notice our worker is red now? That's because we actually move the water into an anoxic reactor, which is an environment with basically no free oxygen. Without oxygen to breathe, a completely different set of specialized bacteria are forced to strip the oxygen atoms directly from the nitrate molecules in the water. The beautiful end result of this? the nitrate is reduced to completely harmless nitrogen gas, which just bubbles safely back up into the atmosphere. And, fun fact, our atmosphere is already 78% nitrogen anyway, so it fits right in. All right, moving into Section 4, sludge and biogas recovery. Okay, so we've cleaned the water, but we are left with all those fat, happy microorganisms that settled out of the tanks as sludge. And this right here is where modern treatment shifts from just waste disposal to resource recovery. Instead of throwing the sludge away, plants send it into these massive, heated anaerobic digesters. Here, biogas is created. Biogas can be described as any gas fuel derived from the decay of organic matter. We are quite literally harvesting fuel from flushable waste. How cool is that?
So how does this magic actually work? Well, it happens in 3 simultaneous stages right inside the digester. First up, hydrolysis breaks down the really complex organic cells into a soluble liquid form. Second, fermentation converts those broken down products into volatile fatty acids and eventually into acetic acid, carbon dioxide, and hydrogen. And finally, methanogenesis. This is where specific microbes convert those acids and hydrogen directly into methane gas. And when a plant operates a mesophilic digester, which just means they carefully control the temperature to stay between about 95 and 102 degrees Fahrenheit, the process is incredibly efficient. The resulting biogas contains 60 to 65% methane by volume. Treatment plants can capture this methane, burn it in engines to generate electricity, and often produce enough power to run the entire facility themselves. It's an absolute game changer, a completely closed-loop energy marvel.
And finally, Section 5, advanced tech and reuse, the real future of our water. So our water is clean, our nutrients are removed, and we've even generated our own power. But in the 21st century, we face entirely new, really complex chemical threats. One of the biggest challenges we're looking at today is dealing with microplastics, pharmaceuticals, and PFAS, those notorious forever chemicals. Traditional bacteria, they can't eat these. So modern potable reuse systems have to utilize intense, advanced filtration. This includes granular activated carbon, where chemicals absorb to porous media. It also includes anion exchange resins, nanofiltration, and reverse osmosis, which literally forces water through a high-pressure membrane that physically blocks even the most microscopic chemical contaminants from passing through.
And guys, this isn't some distant science fiction. It's happening right now. Just look at this incredible example from our sources, the Aurora Prairie Waters Project out in Colorado. They use an advanced treatment train, including that granular activated carbon filtration we just talked about, to strip out pharmaceuticals and human-made chemicals. They safely produce up to 10 million gallons of advanced treated, highly purified water every single day. And the craziest part, they've been doing this successfully since 2010.
Which leaves us with a final, kind of provocative thought to chew on. We have the technology to take our darkest, dirtiest wastewater, extract energy and nutrients right out of it, and polish the remaining water until it is literally cleaner than what comes out of a pristine mountain spring. The engineering is already here. So the real question for the future of our water cycle is this: are you ready to embrace potable water reuse in your own community? It's definitely something to think about the next time you turn on the tap. Thank you so much for joining me and our little orange assistant today for this explainer. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. We are already working on a new topic. See you next time!